Hey guys, welcome back to Gamers from Nowhere. Me and Gary are here again in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
We were looking through and we noticed that some of you guys were kind of interested in a particular topic in our first video from our top 3 of 2015's games that came out.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of elaborate a little bit more, kind of go a little more in depth with this topic.
Right.
I think that Gary's a little more excited about it than I am, but I'm kind of like, ugh, when it comes to this because I cannot stand this particular thing. Do you want to tell the listeners what we're going to talk about?
We're talking about Monster Hunter, the greatest franchise known to man.
Better than Pokemon?
The second best franchise known to man. I'm kidding. I think I like Pokemon maybe a little bit of Monster Hunter. But
Fire Emblem?
I think maybe. Yeah, I think I do like
really?
Fire Emblem.
Smash Brothers?
I'd say it's equal Smash.
Equal to Smash.
Okay, okay. It's a different sort of genre. It's difficult to compare to these other sort of arcadey style games.
I'm already winning the debate.
All right, so why don't I tell you, or why don't you actually go ahead and why don't you say?
I think it'd be better if you went ahead and kind of gave the listeners a little bit of a insight on the game and as to why you think it's really good.
Okay, well, I'll start by telling you my history with the game. I started with the 3DS Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate demo.
Mm-hmm.
On 3DS, and my first, which it lets you pick from any class. And I fought the Lagombi, which was a giant polar bear rabbit, and it's absolutely massive. It's like 12 feet tall, and it's huge, and it's quite scary. And the first time I played the game, I died. I did terrible. I did awful. I hated it. I thought it was clunky. I thought it was stupid. I was like, how do people like this? Why does Pro Jared gush about this so many times?
It's so funny because you hated the demo of it and I loved it.
Really?
I did. I was kind of looking forward to it. But in my opinion, the demo was so far from what the actual game itself was.
There's a lot more to it. But it wasn't until I think Dustin and some other of our friends started playing it and they managed... Yeah. Shane Hawkins and
just Hawkins.
The Hawkins boy. They managed to kill the Lagombi in the demo, and I was like, "You can kill that thing!" Like it blew my mind. Like, how are you good? And so I finally picked it up again, and I tried harder. And this time I picked the hammer, I believe, as opposed to the sword and shield, and I managed to do it. I managed to kill the Lagombi, and that's when I decided, okay, from now on I'm gonna be a hammer, and. Actually, no, wait, I was Lance first. I was a Lancer until I had to change to Hammer. But yeah, I was like, this is actually really fun. The difficulty does make it sort of fun. I like the fact that I'm always on my toes, and I don't know, I have to pay my full attention to this game. It's one of those games where you can't just sit down and be like, I don't really know.
Right. You
can't just lay down for a sec. It's really a game you have to put all your whole into. And that's what I really liked about it. I felt like it was fast, it was clean, it felt crisp. The combat felt smooth, and it just gave you this weird adrenaline rush. And keep in mind, this was before we even fought together online.
Right.
Okay. And so, now, admittedly, I got Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate for the Wii U because I wanted to play with my friends. And it was really tedious. It was really stupid and tedious. The first part of that game sucks.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that we can actually both agree on is that the first part, while very necessary, just felt completely unnecessary. Because I feel like it was too in-depth of a tutorial.
Right. It throws a lot of information at you. It's like, here's how you make steaks, here's how you make weapons, here's how you buy weapons.
And I feel like they could have done that a whole lot better by just kind of throwing you into combat in a sense.
Right.
Throwing you in, not necessarily against the Great Jaggy, but throwing you into combat and then being like, oh, look, your health is depleted. Let's take a moment and show you how to do this.
Right.
Kind of thing. Not just like, hey, you're on this island. Let's, go look for scarabs. Let's go around and kill these monsters that are walking around that you can use for stakes.
Yeah.
To me, that just was very lame. And again, that's where the demo kind of ruined it for me, because I was so used to just, hey, I'm going to pick this class right here, or this particular person, and I can play as that person. Don't have to do anything, just select.
Right.
And go out and fight. And when I went to play it, it was just like, okay, why am I this dude in a linen cloth and having to go around, hunting for honey and scarabs? It just didn't make sense. It was like this, here it was, I'm fighting the Lagombi, and now I'm a bug catcher. It just didn't make sense. The two didn't cross over to me.
Well, that's the thing, is like, that does happen, and I definitely understand that frustration, but you know what game I actually think you'd really like is, and I've talked about how much I don't care for this game, is Evolve.
If I do think Evolve looks really good.
That is definitely more of a game you can just get into immediately, no nonsense.
And I feel like that's what I expected Monster Hunter to be. I didn't expect it to be as in-depth as it actually is.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the thing that hindered me from it to begin with. Was just
I feel like you can do it. I still feel like you think you hate it, but what?
Here it is 2 years later, and you're still trying to convince me to play this game.
But here's the thing, is it because I see you play Pokemon. I see you do things that are not fun. I see you breeding. I see you going back and forth on your bike. I see you do all these things. That's not fun. Neither is bug catching.
I don't like breeding. I don't do breeding.
You don't?
No, I don't do breeding.
Well, still, you do the same battles over and over again, and while it gets a little tedious, you have to admit.
It does. But that's why you play online with other people, so it's not the same battle over and over.
But there's still, like, you're still working. But like when you make Pokemon, or when you find Pokemon and you're working on stuff, you're still building to something. That's what Monster Hunter is about. It's about building to something great. It
is. But even in Pokemon, which the two are kind of similar, but at the same, very, very different.
Right.
I hope I'm not stepping into any of your territory with this, but like one of my biggest gripes was like how bad you had to go out and hunt certain monsters to get certain items, and you had to get lucky to get those certain items in order to make a armor piece that you wanted.
Right, that's true.
As opposed to in Pokemon, sure, you had to get lucky and find certain items. Sometimes it didn't really hinder you all that much, because at the same time you could always, and I guess it's the same thing in Monster Hunter, you could always go back and fight the weaker stuff and grind your Pokemon up, but at the same time you could always go get rare candies and pop your monsters up to the higher levels than you needed them to be. And that's the thing that I kind of feel like Monster Hunter lacked in, was that they didn't give you a chance to be able to say, you know what, this one really rare piece, I really need it, let me go buy it. Sure, it might be, majorly expensive, but worth it at the same time, because now I don't have to go and fight
this thing 10 times over.
Right. And I think that was probably my biggest gripe, was the fact that I had to go and fight certain monsters in order to just make a piece of armor that I wanted. And it wasn't even necessarily the full armor, it was, the left arm piece of the armor or something like that.
I agree with you. Part of the reason I stopped playing Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate is because I was looking for a certain armor piece that had a 5% drop rate. And I could never find it, no matter how much I did. I still might play the game again. I still think I'll pick it up. But the experiences up till that point were fantastic. Most of the armor sets that I got weren't that difficult to make. Mm-hmm. And if I can make a quick analogy, have you ever, just answer the question, have you ever just grinded in the Elite Four?
Yeah, I have.
To get that one level you need, to get that one move your Pokemon learns.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. I have.
You can see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I can see where you're going with this.
So, in the same way, you can grind a certain monster over and over until you get that piece. And if you enjoy the process of hunting, like I did, like for instance, there's a part where Mr. Hawkins was looking for something on a monster called the Nargacuga. It was called the Nargamadula. And the piece honestly wasn't that rare, but every time we went to hunt, we could never get it.
Right.
Never get it. But you know what happened? We got so good at killing the Nargacuga that it didn't even become like a hassle to
fight it
to fight it anymore. It was so easy because we knew where he would go, when he would go. We could kill it so fast. It was ridiculous.
And I know you're going to make another analogy in a second when I bring this point up. The other thing that I did not particularly like in Monster Hunter was the fact that I'm in the middle of fighting this monster, and I think I'm doing really well against it. This isn't the gripe that I had, but I didn't like that you didn't have a health bar for it. You didn't know how far. I mean, sure, the monster itself had tails, but to me, I would much rather see my progression with it. Like, okay, I got him at half health now. Okay, I've got him at a third health now. Okay, he's fixing to die within the next 2 hits, kind of thing. I like that better because then I'm not having to guess. I'm not having to waste my potions or whatever it is on the possibility that he might go on for another 10 hits, but yet I hit him one more time and he's dead, and I just wasted a potion because I wasn't about to get hit again or steak, whatever.
No, that's right. Potion.
Okay,
use potion for health. Stakes are for your endurance.
That's right. They're for your endurance
or stamina, I guess.
But that wasn't my gripe. My gripe was I cannot stand when I'm in the middle of a fight with the monster doing so well, and then all of a sudden it runs away into a different area, and I got to go after it again. I can't stand that. I think that was so unnecessary. And I know you could throw the little paintball thing on it and track it better, but it just, to me, it didn't make sense that it could go out this one exit and then be like 4 different in a different place. It didn't make mental sense to me. It's like, okay, I'm going through this exit door to this room, but I'm gonna end up in the basement. But I was on the 4th floor. It was kind of that kind of thing. That was what I didn't like. And I know you're fixing to make an analogy if you can think about this particular one.
Legendary dogs?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm not going to make that one because that's obvious.
But here's the thing. I didn't like that either. I don't particularly care for when a Pokemon just randomly appears and then runs away again. I never hunted for those. I never went after. If I randomly encountered it, cool. But I never made it a mission on my own because I didn't have to.
Right.
I knew eventually I would just randomly run across it again, and finally at one point it won't run away again. Okay. That's the difference to me was in Monster Hunter it could continuously run away into different places. You can't corner it. As opposed to, sure, it might take you 5 days or longer. I mean, I've been playing, I played Pokemon Y for over 700 hours. And I think it took me maybe 30 hours, give or take, to actually beat the story.
Right.
In order for Zapdos to show up for me.
Yeah.
So, 700 hours minus 30. And I still haven't got to the point where I would be able to capture Zapdos. And it's because I haven't gone looking for it.
Right.
But again, if I randomly encounter it, then it's cool. But I know other ways of getting Zapdos into my game. There's no other way to get the armor sets that you need into the game. There's no other way to get the monsters to be in the certain spot that you want it to be in.
This is true. That can be frustrating. In fact, a lot of times, one thing I found is that for Monster Hunter 4, I preferred there are areas called the open arena sort of areas where it would just be one big room where you just see the monster constantly, it doesn't escape you. However, while that is true, and that can be frustrating, and I've complained about it before, it does provide opportunities for interesting scenarios. And that sounds silly, but let me paint you a picture. Me, a bowman, and I'm a hunting horn user. So I'm a hunting horn, a bowman, and sword and shield, hunting for a monster like a Rathalos. We fight it.
There's a siren from nowhere.
Yeah,
in the background, if you can hear it.
We fight it. It runs away, and then we chase it down. We fight it again. This point, it's limping. That's how we know it's about to die.
Right.
So then the monster. So then we have the paintball on it, and we see. Okay, it's over here, and it stops moving. And then we go there, and you find its nest. You find it's asleep in its nest. And what's really cool is when a monster's asleep. And so what will happen was the bowman will, if he's competent, he'll bring his bombs with him, put his bombs by the monster's head, and then on one count he'll just draw his bow, let go, and just have this massive explosion to do soup, because the more damage is done while the monster's sleeping, this massive explosion to kill it in like one hit, do all the damage to it.
Right.
Little moments like that make those little things where they run away and stuff like that kind of worth it.
I agree. That sounds very interesting. It sounds like something I would love to watch. It sounds like something I would love to be a part of. But how often does it happen?
Fairly often. Not super often, but it happens.
Would you say if you were to sit down and play for a good 4 hours, would it happen once within that 4 hours? Or would you say it would happen maybe you play 4 hours 7 days a week? Would it happen maybe 3 times within that week?
Maybe. Several. I mean, but still, it's still an interesting event.
It is. And I admit, if it happened all the time, it wouldn't feel as special.
Right.
So that's a point for you. But I can't get behind on I've found this beast I'm looking for, and now as I'm attacking it, it's going to run away. Stay and fight. And it would be different if there was a few particular beasts that would be or monsters that would be out there that would, no matter what, it's not going to run away from you. You have to be the one to run away.
There are some like that. Similar to that. Very similar. Yeah.
I never encountered any. Now, I feel like I tried to give the game a fair shake when I first played it. I got all the way through the Great Jaggy, which is what you guys told me as a goal to try to do. And I got to the Great Jaggy. I fought the Great Jaggy. I died 1,000 times to the Great Jaggy. And you guys were like, how did you die to him?
Yes.
And I felt a little discouraged after that. But at the same time, it wasn't too bad. I finally did beat the Great Jaggy. But the other thing that I have to say is, if you're going to play Monster Hunter and you're going to play it with your friends, it's best to play it and you all start it at the same time.
That is true. That is our fault, Hunter. I'm sorry.
Because I feel like the game was so overhyped. Because I really wanted to play the game. I really did. But you guys got the game long before I did. You guys played it non-stop and got so far into it. And then I probably got it, maybe 3 months later?
Yeah, probably.
And got into it, and you guys were so far ahead of me. I would go to play missions that you guys could do and that I could be a part of, luckily. And I would be the only one to die. And of course, you only get three deaths in the whole thing, and then the mission has failed. So, and it really just discouraged me from wanting to play more. And I know you guys were like, oh, we'll just make a new profile and we'll all play together and that kind of stuff. But I just felt like it was almost an impossible goal to reach, to get to that spot where you guys were at before. And I didn't feel right having you guys want to, or not necessarily want to, but having you guys restart and be at the bottom again and then try to make it back to where you were at before. It just...
Well, Hunter, would you ever want to try it again?
I think that I could give it another try at some point, but
God, it looks like I'm asking you to do something horrible.
I would be very reluctant to try it. I would probably be very critical of it if I played it again.
That's fine.
I don't know if I would give it as fair of a shake.
That's true.
Maybe when Monster Hunter 5 comes out, we can all get it the same day and try and play it then.
All right. Well, how about Okay, well, how about we just end it there?
Yeah, go down in the comments, guys, and tell me why I'm an idiot. Tell Garrity why he's an idiot.
Yep.
I know we'll have more of the why Garrity's an idiot because this game is just god awful terrible. But
wow. But yeah, and hopefully maybe one day we can be on here and you can talk to me about when we play Monster Hunter 5 or Monster Hunter X, what your impressions were, and you can be honest.
I will be very honest. I will be brutally honest. But until next time, guys, we'll see you here in the middle of nowhere.
All right, later.